Morning. I know, right? So Vegan Sister is here. And yeah, likewise, right? So happy to see you posted a video recently, Vegan Sister, and that it's a whole collab thing with Mexi and Mad Vegan. That one of these days I'm gonna actually get to watch their videos. I watched most of your video. It was great to see you back. It's great to see you back, and congratulations on your marathon. Oh, you've been traveling. So you've been traveling so much, and you said it's nice to be bad. Was that a Freudian slip? Or did I say bad? I don't know. Anyway, so it's really great to have you. It is great to have you to be here with you. And maybe it's just the two of us. Who knows? Maybe it'll just be the two of us for this next hour. You could jump on and we could just guest, and then it'll be a video of the two of us having like a chat back and forth, which would be perfectly fun for me, unless you're, indisposed, whatever that means. And obviously, for everyone who was nervous about the fact that I wasn't eating any food for a month, I didn't eat food for almost a month. It was almost a month. But like as you can see, back to my old standby, my favorite thing. Remember when it used to be just me and a watermelon and my camera, and I would just talk for like 20 minutes and eat half a watermelon? I will say this. Hello, new person that is watching. I will say this about the cleanse. Things were tough. I wasn't able to get into my clothes. And that was just a bad sign. And it was either I was going to go out and get a whole new wardrobe, or I had to take care of some business. I don't know. Whatever. I was going to go out and get a new wardrobe, which I really can't afford to do. Or I was gonna do something about it. And so I know that that was a way. Hey, Mr. Carl. Hey, I knew that that was a way that I have kickstarted, healthy eating for long periods of time, years at a time. So I was just like, let me just get on the wagon. I just gotten lazy, and so I was trying to get unlazy. And the winter was hard. I knew winter was going to be hard. We talked about winter being hard. I had a whole fundraiser around the fact that winter was going to be hard in Detroit, and there it was. This is so good, y'all. So I want to know how you guys are. Can everybody hear me? Okay, so Mr. Carl Hay asked the question, and I laugh at this question because I will ask the children that I work with, have you had a bowel movement today? So I have no question with you asking about bowel movements. Um, an acai bowl this morning. I don't know if I've ever had an acai bowl. So, Mr. Carl, I'm going to ask you a question. What's the longest you went without a poo during the fast? I once went 12 days not fasting. Okay, so I went a total of 25 days. And I think I had a poo for the first time maybe just a few days ago. So that was maybe 28 days in. And I would say the last time that I had a poo during the fast was about 10 days in. So I'm going to say it was probably somewhere around like 18 days. So yeah, it was around 18 days. So, and that's the longest that I think I've gone, because it's the longest that I've done a fast was for 25 days. Before that, I'd done one for 21 days. So I know we have a few more people on here. I'm not seeing everyone in the chat. Why did I do it? Did you throw up when you ate again? No, not at all. In fact, when I did the master cleanse, and for about 3 days after the master cleanse, I was having less and less watered down orange juice, and then interestingly, the first solid food I had was celery. And I was just like, all I wanted was celery. And so for a couple of days, it was orange juice and celery. And then now I'm having watermelon. I've since had, I've been pretty raw, but I have had chocolate. I'm a big fan of chocolate. And usually I do stuff with raw chocolate, but I just got some real dark chocolate and fair trade, and I'm like, I'm not trying to hurt myself or anything like that. So I've had chocolate. I've had what else? I've had hemp seeds. I've been eating anise seeds. Like that's something that I've been enjoying snacking on. Obviously, I've been having the teas, and in the teas, I was having raw agave as well. So yeah, so that's basically what I've been eating, and I've been thinking about like going into Chronometer to like see what I need to be doing for nutrients. Oh, I've been taking vitamin B tablets, vitamin B supplements. My dog is doing a thing. I hope it's not terrible. Good morning. So good morning. Who else is here? Sanatea asked, "Why did you do it?" And then Melanin Moonseed, hello. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else. I know that there's a handful of people in the chat that are here that I can't see you yet, but when I see you, I'm going to shout you out hello. Sanity says, "Did you meditate and stuff?" I wrote. I had long periods where I really just had moments of mindfulness. I didn't actually, I mean, I don't sit, I don't have a practice like that. I did a fair amount of walking. I was mindful. I think the thing that I did that was the most meditative was that I did a lot of videos where it was just me turning on the camera and talking, which meant that I didn't have to think, I didn't have to script things, and so I was taking a break from that, and I was just, kind of letting people, like, talking through my feelings. I tried to be very intentionally, positive, so even responding to comments in YouTube, I was, and I've actually been able to continue that, just trying to be very mindful and try to practice compassion, and so that's kind of where I've been, and that's really it. So I tried to be mindful. I did not meditate. Thank you so much, Melanin Moonseed says, "This is my first time catching you live. Love your videos." Thank you so much for coming on live. So updates for you guys. So I'm going to let you guys know that I have to be really on schedule. I may end just like a few minutes early, maybe a few minutes before. It's about 11:11 Eastern Daylight Time here in Brooklyn. And you guys, today is the closing of my show. The show is Ready, Set, Go, Race. And it's been running in, basically we set up a theater in a school in Brooklyn. Those unedited videos, we prefer them to your planned out and edited. So thank you, Mr. Carl Hay, for your comments on that format. I actually prefer that format. I feel like on my videos that are about like my kind of how-to, my definition videos where I'm trying to just be really concise and offer a quick definition. Sometimes the edited videos for me seem like maybe they're more effective. Mad Blender, hey! Good to see you. Welcome. Good morning. Yes, so I have to say I really enjoyed making the long form videos, and I might stick with that format. I might just be a little bit more content specific. For example, next week I want to spend the week talking specifically about uh, identity politics, but not, I may define identity politics for everyone, but I want to talk a little bit about the ways that I think identity politics might be helpful, might be harmful, things that I've discovered from conversations I've been having with people that maybe I've seen as, at the opposite end of the political spectrum. I'm going to talk about the political spectrum and how I feel like it's this very unhelpful construct that is maybe not the best thing for people who are more intellectually curious and open and pragmatic to be engaged in at all, just the positioning at all. So I'm not saying that I'm gonna the way I'm landing on this is that it's all bad, but I want to spend the next week talking about identity politics. So I hope that that'll be something interesting for folks. And I want to use the same. Thank you for the 400 likes, Swag Vegan, and welcome, Swag Vegan. Good morning. So yeah, so I think I'm going to spend a week on that, and I hope that it's interesting. I'm going to use the long form. Like I said, I might have like maybe a definition video in there. I do want to talk some about politics, but just keep the conversation going. What I found is that I can then respond to comments that are made, after the first video and just go deeper. And so it's sharing other people's points of views. And who knows, maybe a few weeks ago, I've spent a fair amount of time talking about SJWs. And so then there ended up being response videos to that. And I feel like, there were some relationships built with people who don't necessarily agree. I don't want to say I necessarily agree with me, but maybe felt like we were coming from opposite ends. But then we found ourselves really collaborating, even in the content section, talking to people who were responding to the video and just saying hateful things about me, but then like me and the person who made the video would be having a discussion with that person about how that particular approach that they had wasn't helpful in creating more of a dialogue and more understanding. And I want to do more. I want to do more of that. I want to do more of that on YouTube, like finding ways to engage with people who aren't extremists, but want to learn and want to understand people who have different perspectives than they do. Yes, welcome. Good morning to you, Swag Vegan. So that. But I want to talk about my show. I want to talk to you guys about the show because I'm really excited. So we opened the show, just a couple of days ago, and I'm so sad that the show is closing today here. I will let you guys know for sure that the plan is to remount the show in the fall. It was very, very successful. I was actually surprised. I thought people were kind of going to hate the show. But the show was very successful. We were sold out for every performance, and likely we will be turning people away for this last performance. The cast is very enthusiastic about it, and obviously everybody who has seen it, and I think that there might be the resources to mount it for a longer period of time, starting in the fall. The idea is to have it run for at least 4 weeks, basically the run of a typical regional theater run, which would also give it an opportunity to maybe get interviewed in the New York Times and what all that stuff can be about. But having paper on the show is good, and it's good for the company, and it means that a lot more people are going to be hearing the message of this play, which people seem to appreciate. And we've been doing talkbacks after every show, and some really powerful things have been said in these pretty diverse audiences. And the goal of the piece was to have a conversation about race in a way that was more comfortable for people. And I don't mean like it was about focusing on like people being, fragile or people being touchy, but just that there's a way to talk about a system and a construct in ways that look at the history, look at the reasons that it was constructed and the purposes behind that, and then have people say what they think about that. That's not so focused on the interpersonal aspects of things like racism, and it was great. it felt really good to be in a room full of people. And this is people of all ages. There were kids. There's actually kids in the show as well. So you had young people who were offering their feedback. I had the show got compared a lot to Hamilton. I don't know if people are familiar with the show Hamilton, but people talked about it, compared it to Hamilton, and just talked about the fact that there are a lot of things in Hamilton. You have an African American cast in Hamilton doing a play about American history, but kind of glossing over some of the truths about the founding of the country. And so we kind of get started, and everybody's being really heroic, and all the things that people you know are when they're being playing the role of one of the founding fathers. And it kind of washes over the fact that, well, wait a minute, this thing got done before we got to the point where the founding fathers were these cool people. Like, some pretty nasty things happened. And so this play focuses on some of that nastiness that happened even before slavery, really looking back at England. So to have a lot of people have their eyes open to things that they didn't understand about the founding of the United States, and the imperialism, just like the colonization that was just happening in Europe, period, in that period, and in that during that point in time. I think a lot of people just don't understand what that was about. That it was a money making. They started these businesses, and the businesses went and they tried to make some money, and they turned into new nations were built off of you know So yeah, totalitarianism, nationalism, fascism. What's really funny is in the first, there's a big splashy musical number in the play, and then somebody comes out and does kind of a short form poem, and they use all of these trigger words really, really quickly, and the audience, gets their backs up, and then somebody says, "No, we're not starting like that. Nope, sorry, we can't. No, we got to go real, real slow," and then we go back in history. But it's really, really funny. Are you going to post some clips from the play on your channel? Mad Blender's asking. I don't know. I think what's probably going to happen is FalconWorks is going to start a Patreon page, and then FalconWorks will, because there's an organization that kind of owns that material, and even though I'm the artistic director, because it's a not-for-profit, I don't own the not-for-profit. It's a publicly owned entity, and so I feel like because that material belongs to that organization should be ultimately responsible for what happens, and I'm going to recommend that they make it available for people to see online, but it should be all stuff that I'm not necessarily in control of. There is a video. They did a 2-camera setup video shoot of the not the opening night, the second performance, which went pretty well. There was one technical weird thing that happened during the show, but the person who's doing the video is pretty good, and they're actually going to be able to just paste kind of a piece in and have it look smooth. So let's see what happens. Yes. The keys for a greater Europe. I'm from Europe. I'm not sure what your question is. Waffen 105. Hello, by the way, and good morning and welcome. I'm trying to see. I have some things that I missed. Blah blah blah. Yeah. So that's where that is. What else? What about some backstage stuff? I like those kinds of videos. Yes, I have a lot of backstage stuff. I have a lot of rehearsal videos. I have this one video where there was this one actor in a very, very complicated dance number who was having some trouble getting the dance number, and it's like time to take a break, and he wouldn't take a break, and I'm trying to convince him to take a break, and he wouldn't do it because he wanted to get the number. So I have footage of that, and it's awesome. It's kind of, I was like, well, it's kind of like watching Michael Jackson. And I'll likely do some video today with the cast because it's the last performance. And then, since it's not over, because we really are planning on mounting the show again, since it's not over, so then we're going to actually get to look at some of even the production side, like how to raise money, like what it's like trying to raise money to do a show, and us going and asking for people to put down tens of thousands of dollars to produce a show in New York City. So that might be exciting for folks to see too. Yeah. So that's stuff. I feel like I've fallen so behind in terms of politics. I've been getting my news more from like mainstream news sources, so I kind of feel really out of the loop and a little bit ignorant because I'm sure that what I've been getting from those mainstream news sources has not been at all anything like a complete picture, and probably not things that I would want to be focusing on. So yeah, what else? What else is going on? What do you guys want to talk about today? Somebody want to guest? That would be fun. Vegan sister, you want to come guest? Vegan sister says, I have some news. You want to come guest? Don't leave me here by myself. I miss you. So we'll see if that works out. But what else? So, I'm going back to, come on, vegan sister. You can't be like, I got some news and then don't get on here, jump on here and guest. Okay, so in about 5 minutes, I think we're going to have vegan sister guesting. Are you glad you did the vegan gains vid? It was hard in the afternoon. No, it wasn't. No hard, please. I'm super glad that I did the vegan gains video. I met a lot of really incredible people because of that video. There were folks that certainly were challenged, whatever that means. Yeah, I'm not at all. I'm very, very happy with the vegan gains video. I was disappointed to know that, well, I'm going to say this. I had a sense that there were probably people who were, fans of vegan gains. That vegan gains was probably drawing around himself a negative, like some negative folks. And I did not see the roaming, the debate yesterday. I watched a little bit of it today. I'm sorry. So Mad Blender was asking about the vegan gains video. I watched a little bit of it today. My sense is roaming millennial doesn't know that much about health, doesn't really know that much about ethics. There was somebody else on the video who wasn't very bright. Vegan Gains is a little, he's pushy, so he's like, getcha, getcha, getcha. So it wasn't a debate. It was just, a not very, I don't want to say that roaming millennial isn't bright, but roaming millennial did not know enough about that topic to be engaging in a debate in a way that was interesting to me. So the debate should have been just Vegan Gains and roaming. Yeah, the joking of those other folks it was just, that became a free-for-all. But I don't think that roaming millennial was in a place to have a debate with Vegan Gains on that topic. Roaming millennial, was just kind of all over the place, and there was one point that I haven't heard the whole thing, but I heard there was the chunk where roaming millennial was talking about, well, is it moral for a lion to kill a zebra? And they made the point very clear that it's not a question of ethics. The lion doesn't really have a choice. The lion doesn't have a chance to weigh whether or not it's wrong or right, or whether or not it's necessary to kill the zebra. The lion is just living based on instincts, or I don't know how a lion lives, right? We don't know how a lion experiences their existence. So how do we try to impose our human way of thinking and our human concept of ethics and morality onto a lion? So that's silly. When and someone actually there was actually someone said something smart, like, yes, in a world, if I could wave a magic wand and make it so that lions didn't have to eat other animals, that other animals didn't have to be killed, would I do that? Yes, but then I'd also have to want to make sure that we were going to be able to keep things in balance, right? It's a whole other, that was so, and that was a point that roaming millennial didn't seem to understand. Roaming millennial didn't seem to understand that uh, the question about the differences, a difference between a human and a cow that would morally justify the death of that animal as as saying that there wasn't a difference between cows and human. And so if the person can't understand these basic concepts, I'm not saying they're, I shouldn't say that they're basics, but if the person is not ready to engage on that level, then that's not a person that should be in a debate. That person should go back and put some training wheels on and have have the training wheels debate. And it shouldn't be with Vegan Gains, because Vegan Gains is at least in that position. I'm not saying that Vegan Gains necessarily is the finest of debaters on other topics, but on the topic of, ethics around, animal rights. Vegan Gains has just spent a lot of time thinking about those things, and is sort of trained in the questions, like knows the questions to ask to get to the bottom of the ethic that matter. And roaming millennial wasn't ready for that, so it wasn't very exciting for me to watch. It just seemed like somebody who was being defensive and trying to defend things that they said or didn't say and what they really meant. And clearly, I'll say this: the way roaming millennial was being in that debate wasn't the way roaming millennial was being when that video was, when they were making that video on their own and feeling very smart and smug. That's for sure. Um, yeah, I did. I mean, because I kind of skipped ahead, and so the part that I saw Vegan Gains was a bit aggressive and hostile, and the person who was moderating kept having to defend roaming millennial. But I'm one of those people who's like, if the person is saying things that aren't true, if there's not somebody in the debate if they're not somebody moderating the debate who can point out, Jesse Fruworth, hello, good morning. Good morning. You can't impose human values on animals where it suits the human. Example, not much debate on spiders eating flies, right? Absolutely. That doesn't make any sense. And roaming millennial seemed prepared to have that discussion, but not prepared to answer the question about, well, what is it about as far as humans making the decision to do something based on a particular set of criteria, and how can and trying to do that without having double standards. And it was really just a question of the double standard. If we eat cows because cows aren't as smart as humans, if there was a human who for one reason or other didn't have the intellectual capacity of a cow, would it be okay to eat that person, right? That's just a simple argument that roaming millennial didn't seem prepared to have. So yeah, I just posted my response. I was so annoyed. I immediately created an avatar and responded, haha, RM and Ranting Mumby just didn't understand. Yeah, they didn't understand. Actually, Romy Leno asked for it to be one-on-one with a moderator. The inclusion of sidekicks was at Vegan Gains' insistence. I don't know what that's. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't know about that. Yeah, I didn't. I told you guys I'm totally out of the loop, so I don't know what has been happening. I promise that I will, catch up on my news and all those things before I post a video tomorrow. I'll be making my next video. Vegan Gains, the expert on morals, bought a pedigree puppy from a breeder 6,000 kilometers away and had it posted to him. And by posted meaning sent by mail. I think that's what you're basically saying. Yeah, I've been going through withdrawal. Mad Blender, I adore you. So yeah, you guys, I've really been missing you. And every day I have wanted to make a video, but I said no. I gave myself this space to not make videos for the week, and I need to do that. And it ended up being really, really necessary because not making a video every day, I was able to go to the grocery store and get healthy food. So I wasn't suddenly, having to fall back on stuff. Absolutely. Gaines' dog is purebred. Well, no one's perfect, but that's pretty bad. Yeah. It's good to it took some time for yourself. We all need mental health. And are you done with the cleanse? Yes. And I've decided not to call it a cleanse anymore, you guys, because it's not really a thing, right? It's fasting. It's right. It's deprivation. And so I felt like calling it a cleanse was in some way implying that I had some understanding of it being having some positive health benefits that I can't say, I wouldn't stand behind, and I wouldn't want someone else to do what I did thinking that it was going to help them. It was going to, be good for their health. It was something that I did, something that came with a lot of risks, something that, might have negative effects on, my health at some point later on. I didn't even go to see a doctor. It was reckless. It was a terrible, reckless thing to do. I personally feel better for having done it. I went into it with an understanding of the way I respond from doing that kind of thing. But really, y'all, don't don't be fasting and don't be cleansing. Go to doctors, take care of yourselves, eat, do take care of yourselves, love yourselves. Don't do that. But I did it and I can talk about it and I'm happy to talk to you guys about it. But I just want to make very, very clear that I don't want you guys to think that here's a practice that we should all be being a part of, right? I can't even say there were huge, health benefits. Like for myself, mentally, for my own personal well-being, I feel cool. How many times have you gone 2 weeks without eating? In my life, Jesse, I would say 3 times in my life since I started doing fasting over the past 7 years. I've gone. That was the longest that I've gone because that was actually 3 weeks, right? It was 25 days, so it was 3 weeks and some change. So yes, so twice I've gone for 3 weeks. Once I went for 2 weeks, and like I said, this last time was the longest. Usually, I've gone for 3 days. 3 days is the normal thing for me, and that's something that at the time that I was doing it regularly, I would do 4 times a year. It takes some massive willpower to do that long. I've only been able to make it for 2 days. How many times have you gone 3 days without eating? Well, I think you maybe asked that question just before I answered it. Really, at the high point, maybe over a 2-year period, I was 4 times a year doing, a 3 day, and they were mostly juice feasts, with maybe once a year doing, some kind of a longer a longer thing. But with regularity, I would say, how many times over 7 years have I gone for 3 days? 20, at least 20 times. Yes. Um, when that was my a more regular practice for me. And I would say that during that period, I was more centered. I was more balanced. Um, the times without it, really things, yeah, just over the past couple of years. Do you plan to stay off junk food now? Do you have a new strategy or resolve? Um, I personally need to stay off junk food. And by junk food, I mean like, processed foods, like generally speaking, processed foods, not like the occasional, chocolate, not the occasional, some, I need to not eat that ever. And the truth is, it's never healthy, right? It's always like, oh, can I get away with it? At my age, Jesse, I need to not ever eat that kind of food, right? It doesn't mean that I don't get to eat lots of delicious things, right? And I'm actually pretty good at making my own junk food. I just take things and put them in the dehydrator and turn them into really really delicious snacks that I love. But as far as like something coming in a plastic bag or in a plastic wrapper. I never need to consume anything like that ever. So yes, and in terms of new resolve, new strategy, new resolve, the to be honest, like the thing is like to just keep it whole for the most part, keep it raw for the most part. That's what that's how I personally do best. Um, I know I'm gonna fall off that wagon again. I know that's gonna happen, but it's okay. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. Anna Girl Empath, thank you so much for becoming a fan. Do you think you are drawn to junk food when you are calorie deprived, undercarved? I'm gonna be honest with you. I think, Jesse, that the junk food, it's not so much about like, oh, I'm hungry and I need some junk food now. I think it mostly has to do with access. And if I have access to all the things that I like and what I need, like if I, like for example, in Detroit, all the way through the fall, all the way to the closing of the markets, my life was beautiful. Everything was exactly what I needed. And then winter hit, and suddenly I didn't have access to the foods that I needed to sustain myself. And that's like, I need to have a watermelon in my house all the time. I need to have a case of bananas in my house all the time. I need to have cases of fresh vegetables in my house all the time. And when those things aren't there, I start to panic a little bit. I start to feel like, you know, scarcity. I start to, experience that sense of scarcity. And that's when, I start buying like, well, I'll buy these packaged things in case I don't, I'm not going to be able to get to the store. And then suddenly the packaged thing becomes the staple. It becomes like the regular food. And that become, so like for me last year, it was ramen. It was just like having ramen day every day. Like my main meal every day was ramen with, and I would throw like all kinds of frozen vegetables and things and try to make it as healthy as possible, but that's not good for you. That's like the salt, just the like even using the like the ramen packets and things like that. And even when I wasn't using the ramen packets, what the noodles themselves, I'm sure, are like full of sodium. This is good, unpacking the slippery slope, unpacking your trigger thoughts. Yeah, absolutely. I watched a great video by Midlife Fitness, who was Vegan Soul Sister, but now is Midlife Fitness and probably hasn't made a video for about 5 months, but has great videos talking about that very thing. And just being willing to, face up to those things and talk about those things and know when you are, triggering, and knowing when you're starting to get lazy and knowing when you're starting to make excuses for yourself. Like for me, like, and vegan and midlife fitness talks about this. It's when you like, when you start, you've got your clothes that you have because you use them as your like work clothes, like your work, your like when I'm painting around the house. So I have lots of old clothes that are bigger clothes, but I wear them because I don't mind getting them dusty and dirty, right? And then I have my clothes that are my clothes that I wear. When the clothes that I normally wear to clean my house start to become my normal clothes because those are the only clothes that fit, those are a sign that it's like, okay, what's up? And actually, Midlife Fitness in one of their videos, says that that's when you put on your clothes. That's when you put on your tightest clothes, so that you can just keep reminding yourself, oh, I need to take care, right? And so it doesn't become about like weight, and it doesn't become about like how you look. It becomes about just the practicality of being able to fit into your clothes. You should definitely find healthy backups for your bananas and watermelons before you need them. Absolutely. That's a great, great thought. I mean, certainly I discovered way too late in the winter the beauty of frozen vegetables. I also late into the winter bought a like what do you call that? Like a chest freezer. What do you call those things? Like a freezer. Whatever, it's a freezer. But like I got a chest freezer that would suddenly hold um, I could put pounds and pounds of frozen vegetables in there. In my house in the house in Detroit, I had just like a little kind of like dorm room sized refrigerator because I was mostly eating raw through the summer, and then suddenly, that was not gone, and I was even putting food outside in a plastic tub to keep things frozen. So we called it a deep freeze growing up. Yeah, this is the one that most people have outside the back of their house. That's really my biggest appliance in my kitchen is a deep freeze. So yeah, yeah, y'all. So yeah, that's real. So those are things that I definitely just have to be mindful of. The big thing, y'all, it wasn't just a matter of like not fitting in my clothes. If it had just been about me, wearing clothes that were my like bigger clothes, I probably would not have had the wake up call as coming back and putting on my dropsy clothes and not fitting into my dropsy clothes. And that was like a real wake up because I have a wide range of dropsy clothes from like when I was, 190 pounds, like tiny little pencil skirts, to, when I was bigger and I wasn't able to fit into my like largest dropsy clothes. And I was like, that's definitely, I definitely need to make some moves there. So, but, all that said, things are fine now. Yeah, things are fine now. So, yes. So, also, recommendations. How do you stay healthy? How do you eat healthy when you don't have access to the fresh fruits and vegetables? And, I tend to like to be raw, but not when it's hard work. I'm raw when it's easy to be raw, when all of those fresh, summertime, spring, summer, into November when you still have a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables available. Markets are open all over the city. That's easy. How do people stay healthy and eat as clean as possible? Oatmeal, potatoes, rice, corn, tamales and beans. Jesse, I'm with you for the most part. I don't do so well with rice. And I think I think part of it is an age thing and part of it is a genetic thing. And Mrs. King talks about this. She's gotten recommendations from her doctors, and her doctor is vegan, as a matter of fact. And they're just some people just with rice, it just becomes potatoes. I'm okay with potatoes. Corn, definitely. Corn is definitely a food that I tend to be able to thrive on eating very regularly. But yeah, kale is a great winter vegetable. First of all, Alicia Cecile, hello and welcome. Good morning. Kale, a great winter vegetable. And you think in terms of like finding it in the market, having access to it, easy access to it in the market. For example, in where I live in Red Hook, kale is $3 a bunch. It's a little on the expensive side. Mm. Quinoa. Yeah, quinoa. I don't eat nearly enough quinoa, and I love it. But I've never been into so much into making it. Another thing that I love is it wheat berries? I'm a big fan of the wheat berry. Hello, if I had an answer to that, I would have a channel on my own. So Vegan Sister saying if I had so Jesse's thrown out so far oatmeal, potatoes, rice, corn, tamales, beans. Hey, Kearney is here. Welcome, Kearney. And Jesse, I'm going to say this. We actually had a great thing going on at the house because I have a slow cooker and we were making beans every day that were amazing, amazing, amazing. And I'm gonna be honest, like the rice wasn't so bad. It wasn't really until the like whole convenience question of going from rice and going from that and then going into like things like ramen. That was really where the slippery slope was. And for me, it was just very easy to make that transition. I never did potatoes, by the way, last winter. I didn't eat really any potatoes. It was making the transition from rice to pasta because the pasta was just easy. You could make it in 15 minutes as opposed to having to like either make it in the slow cooker and have it take all day or, having to watch it, have it maybe boil, all those things, right? It's all the excuses. Um, but that's why we're here to talk about the ways that people, who are maybe lazy, like me. Um, Kearney V, we're talking about, no, you're okay. At some point, Vegan Sister has promised to jump on here and guest and share some news, and we're going to hear what that is. Lily, hello. I had a pronto. A pronto. I'm not sure what that means. LOL, sort of news. If you get on here and say something like, you're pregnant, and that's supposed to be sort of news, we're all going to be mad at you. Right? Yeah, Matt Blender, come on, let's get sister. Come on here. Yeah, so Lily and Kearney, we were just talking about, how to, in that period of time when things are scarce and you don't have access to all of the foods that you thrive on, how do people, stay healthy? Is Jesse going? Jesse, farewell. I missed that. That Jesse was leaving. Oh, gotta go to work. Oh yeah, have a great day, Jesse. And all of you, I can't stay really much longer. I have to go. Like I told you guys, my show is closing. Oh, so here's Vegan Sister, Vegan Traveler. It's saying Vegan Traveler. It's your first time on YouNow. I know that that's not true, but welcome to the stream, y'all. Here's Vegan Sister, who's gonna help carry us out of here.
Hi.
Hello, thank you for the likes, Kearney. Welcome. How are you, my dear?
I'm good. It's nice to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, come on now. So you've been traveling.
Yes, I have been
Tell me
traveling.
list all the places that you were. One of them including a marathon,
Yes. Okay, so let's
which is
start
like
with
that's the 23 mile. That's 23 mile, right?
26.2 miles.
Woo!
Yes. Yes. Oh, oh, thank you, Matt Blender. So, back in late April, I ran the Tacoma City Marathon. I signed up for it in August, like a long time ago. And I wasn't planning on doing all this traveling at the beginning of the year, but so I've just been doing all this stuff. And I guess my news is I'm trying really, really hard not to have kids before they hatch.
Wait. Okay. So you're
Yes.
planning. You're trying not to talk about things before you do them.
I'm,
So what you're basically telling us is you have some news, but you're not going to tell us.
no, I wanted to tell you what it is. I just,
Okay.
I'm trying to not like get too excited about it. There is a pretty good possibility that I am moving to New York.
All right now. Look out in New York.
Yes,
Who's that girl walking down the street in New York? Vegan Sister.
I know. Funny,
You gonna have a
actually,
song?
not that far from Mad Blender, actually. So,
Wow. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So one of the places I was in upstate New York for a job interview, and I think it went really well. They emailed me after the interview, and they were like, "Hey, here's some resources to some things that you mentioned during the interview." So they were like, "Give me resources to vegan restaurants and Zumba stuff and running clubs." So I feel like they took the time to research those things for me. I feel like they're trying to like sell me on the job a little bit. So So we'll see. But I'm trying like really hard. I'm gonna find out next week if I got the job or not. So
Okay.
yeah.
Should we knock wood? I did it. I
Yeah.
did it. I knocked the wood. I couldn't help it. It happened before. Sometimes you have to just do what you got to do.
I
Well,
know. I know.
I'm sending you positive vibes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
You
And
look
so that
great, by
means,
the way.
what's that?
You look like you're losing some weight. You look great. Like,
Just a little. I mean, honestly, this is the way I normally look. This is like me. I'm just like, sort of like me. I'm just like normal me now. I was a little like out of sorts for a little bit there, like towards the end of the winter, and now I feel just me, which
for
is
sure.
cool.
For sure.
And then the running, I'll
Very,
get back to running when I get back to Detroit, which I'm so looking forward to running in the park
yeah. Yeah.
again in beautiful weather.
Absolutely.
So yeah, yeah.
So I
Well,
have
that's
another
awesome.
job interview actually in
Come on.
California. I know. I know. I have another job interview in California next week. So I'll be in California Sunday, Monday of next week. So just trying to make some steps, kind of make some moves. Trying to do some things.
It sounds like you're making moves. It doesn't sound like you're trying anything. You're making moves. You're making moves.
I'm trying. I'm
Where these moves lead you is another question. But you're moving.
trying.
And a week and a half ago, you moved for 26 miles, which is amazing, right? That's just amazing.
If you've never been to Tacoma, Washington, it was so beautiful there. It was so beautiful. It was the perfect mix of like Seattle is the perfect mix of a city with beaches and mountains. It's like everything you could even I would ever even think in a landscape that I would want. It was just so beautiful. I highly
Hmm.
recommend going
Yeah.
there. I would totally go
Cool.
back.
Yeah. It's interesting because, both my husband and I talk about like the places that we love in the world. We've never been there together, but we both talk about how much we love the Pacific Northwest, but
Yeah.
we've never been there together. And I don't know what that's about. Maybe we think we'll go and never just disappear. We'll just go and disappear into the mountain. Goodbye, y'all. Thank you. Like leave it all behind. Like
Absolutely.
yeah, just cut down a couple trees and make a thing. Um, so hold on a second. So somebody's asking about social justice. I so want to get it. You can't come on in the last 5 minutes and then want to start a conversation about social justice. So Max Payne, you are gonna have to come back next week and get here on time. The live stream starts at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and we can have a long you can come on and guest and we can talk all about social justice. In the meantime, you could probably go back. I've made two videos with OG Mizzen. So if you go back and you watch the live streams with OG Mizzen, and we have some great discussions about social justice and capitalism and all of those groovy things. And but I'm going to read your questions just for folks who watch this video can know what I'm responding to. So you've asked for a definition of social justice. Please do go check those out. I give a very detailed, and we have a long conversation about social justice. You asked, it's like the communist ideology, fair distribution of wealth between the different classes and the rights of workers to partners, not just workers. I don't know anything about that. I'm not in. No, yeah, I'm not in there because I don't even like try to center my thinking about social justice about like around work. Like, what does that even mean? Because like, what does that even mean? So no, for the big capitalist head, I don't know what that means. No, no, that's not me. I have thoughts about capitalism, but my conversations about social justice to me isn't about capitalism. Social justice is an idea of just are people having fair opportunities, right? And for me, like an opportunity is like if I say, for example, want to go out and live in the woods and like make a cabin. And it's like, can I do that? Can I live in the way that resonates deeply with me and my values, without the state interfering or the state stopping me or others trying? So to me, social justice is a much deeper and nuanced conversation because it's not just what one might desire, but how is that possible in a way that doesn't destroy the planet, right? So yeah. So be consistent. You want to give that a little bit for Max Payne. I know we're in the last like 3 minutes, but like I said, come early and we will get in. Go ahead. Go
I
ahead. Go
was just
ahead.
gonna say, like, to what you were talking about, like living in the way that is in line with your values. Just reminding of this case that happened of a woman who was living kind of off the grid, and she was filtering her own water, and she got cited, possibly arrested. I have to double check, but I know she definitely got cited by the city for not using their water system. So she has to pay. So you have to pay to use the city's water system, no matter how you live. And it's like, if she's able to, if if she is able to be healthy in the way that is not costing the city money, why shouldn't she be allowed to do that? You know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So Max Payne, thank you so much for your question. But yeah, the way we kind of like the way I tend to roll with it and like the conversations that I like to have about it are more along those lines and have to deal with people being able to, live. Like how can we all live? And by people, I'm including some, you know, beings that are sentient that aren't even sometimes considered in that conversation. So yeah, it gets deep. But I'm very interested in having it. So, Max, no problem. Just keep in mind that justice is a very big word, and its definition is different from one to one. Great, great. I think
Yep.
that's wonderful. I think all the more meaning to have conversations about it, and
Sure.
probably the more reason, right, not to make assumptions about what one means when they say it, right? So. Yeah, I love it. I'm Comrade Flowers. We actually have some friends who refer to me and all of all of the folks that they work with as Comrade.
Oh.
I always use it. I always use it a little tongue in cheek because I'm not Russian. So, but anyway, all that said, we fam. But
Totally.
so vegan sister, any last words? I'm just going to sign out to the people. But do you have anything to say before you go? Any last words? Any
Yes.
consejos?
Please check out the collab videos that myself, Mexi, and Mad Blender did. Um, the Mad Blender and Mexi did an amazing job with their videos, and I highly recommend you check them out.
Absolutely, and I will someday include that information in the description box below. I'm signing you off. Thank you so much for joining the Vegan Sister.
All right, I'll see you later.
You will. So, for the rest of you, thank you so much for joining for this broadcast. And I will be up, like I said, next week. I'm going to be making a series of videos. I don't know if I'll be up every day next week. I'm going to start slow, come back slowly. But I'm going to be talking about identity politics next week. So, please do tune in for those on the YouTube channel. That's it for this video. For those of you joining from YouTube, like this video if you like it, share, comment, subscribe. This is Reg signing off. Love yourselves. Peace.